So you're looking for some facts about food plot seed? Over the next few minutes, you're going to get a lot of them. Hi, this is Matt from Reed's Custom Food Plots. We're coming to you today having just finished up the Open Season Sportsman's Expo in Wisconsin Dells. While we were there, we got a lot of people stopping by our booth asking questions about food plot and which seed I should plant and what's the best and all sorts of things. So we thought it was time to shoot a video about the facts about food plot seeds and try to get some information out to you, the general public. This video is not intended to promote a seed, it's not intended to bash a seed, and at the end of the day, a lot of them are going to work just fine. But it's important to understand exactly what it is that you're buying so that you're spending your money as wisely as possible. When it comes to seed, there are some seed companies that are actually manufacturing their own seed. They're growing seed for a seed source, putting it in a bag and selling it. But that's not the norm. The norm is many of these seed companies are sourcing their seeds from the exact same place, and they're getting repackaged and then sold to you under their brand name. So really, when you look at all of the seeds that are in the market, remember that there are an awful lot of them that are coming from the exact same place, and then they're just repackaged into a bucket or a jug or a pouch or a bag and sold to you under their own brand name. So let's touch on the freshness of your seed. There's a really easy way to know if your seed is fresh or not. Anytime you pick up a bag of seed, you're going to look for that label on the back. And on the back of that label, there is going to be a seed test date, which is going to tell you when the germination of that seed was tested. So I've got a jug of seed here. We'd plan to plant that this spring. This actually has a test date of January of 23. We know this seed is fresh. It was just germ tested a couple of months ago. Contrast that to this bag, which I also bought earlier today. This is a bag that we want to plant this year, but this has a germ test date of July of 2021. So by the time this seed goes in the ground, it's going to be almost 2 years old. The moral of the story is the longer the seed sits on the shelf and the further you are away from the germ test date, you're going to have reduced performance of that seed, and that seed's not going to germinate as well the older that it is. Looking at the label will tell you that. So if you've ever planted food plots before, you already know that the seed rate that you put your seed to the ground is really important. The question is how much seed is actually in each of these bags, and that can be a little trickier than you might think. When you look at the label on a seed bag, it's going to tell you how much pure live seed is actually in that bag. So for example, I've got 8 different bags of seed here. 2 of these bags are showing 98% of those bags is pure seed. 6 of these 8 have significant amounts of seed coating, which is making up somewhere between 25 and 35% of the weight that's in that bag. So if I take this little bag of forage collards, this bag is supposed to plant a 1/4 acre or 4 pounds an acre. But when I actually look at the label, it's a little north of 30% of this is actually a seed coating. So there's not a pound of seed in here. There's a pound of weight, but about 1/3 of that weight is actually the coating that's on the seed. So keep that in mind when you're looking at your seed rates. Make sure you understand how much seed you're getting in the bag versus how much coating you're getting. I'm not saying that coating is bad. Some of it is really good. Some of it's just there so you can see the seed though. So make sure that you know what you're getting before you pull the trigger on buying that bag of seed. So as you're looking at all the different food plot options that you have out there, seed blends have become all the rage over the last couple of years. So we want to touch on blends and what you need to be thinking about. When it comes to seed blends, there's 2 really important pieces to consider. One is the size of the seeds in the blend that you're planting. So on this bag here, it's a oats, winter peas, wheat, clover, and radish blend. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that blend, but if you want to maximize what's in that blend, probably not the best idea to plant a clover that needs to be 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 inch deep, along with peas that really thrive at 1 inch to 1.5 inches deep. You're probably not going to get maximum production out of that blend because those seeds require different planting depths. Likewise, you see a lot of blends out there that seasonally aren't correct. So I'll give you a couple of examples. We've got one here. We've got a brassica blend that's turnips and sugar beets. Well, turnips and sugar beets really should be planted at different times of year. So looking here in Wisconsin, for example, sugar beets need to be in the ground late May, early June. I'd like turnips to be in the ground, mid-July to mid-August, somewhere in that range. You put them together in one bag, one's gonna do everything that it should while the other one isn't. So it's a blend that probably shouldn't go together. I've also seen blends at the show. For example, this past weekend, we saw some blends that were marketed as a spring blend, and then they had a separate blend that was a fall blend. And when you really get to looking at the labels, the contents of both of those bags, 80% of them were the same. So which is it, right? Are you going to plant that one in the spring? Are you going to plant it in the fall? And what is seasonally appropriate for where you're at? within that blend to plant. So keep all those things in mind. You want seeds that are of similar size to go together to plant at a similar depth, and you want to make sure seasonality is correct so that you're planting the right plants at the right time of year. All right, so let's wrap this up by pulling the curtain back on price of a lot of the food plot products that are out there these days. Right here on this ledge, I have, 4 or 5 different varieties of clover, and I bought all of these this morning at Fleet Farm, and all of these clovers sold for between $8 and $10 a pound. I can assure you, if you go to your local co-op, your local farm supply store, they're going to have many of the same clover varieties, likely from much of the same source that a number of these seed companies are coming from, and you can buy those there in bulk for somewhere in that neighborhood of $5 a pound. Now, it's not going to come in a fancy pouch, it's not going to have a big buck on the bag. They're probably going to scoop it out of a big bag, put it in a Ziploc bag, but you're going to walk out the door saving 40 or 50%. Second example I'll give you, there's a lot of rage out there right now about a new corn variety that's come out, higher in fat, higher in protein, all of those sorts of things. And there are in fact corn varieties out there that do that, but it's not a new variety. So when you look at a corn variety, the ones that come to mind most recently are some of these non-GMO products. They've got a little different color to them. Some of them are red, some of them are orange, those types of things. You can buy those corn varieties online. They're an open pollinated variety corn for way less expensively than you're going to buy the bag that's got the big buck or the big personality behind it. So for example, I've seen some of these new high protein, high fat corn varieties marketed to deer hunters at around $300 or $350 a bag for a standard size bag of corn that'll plant 2.5 to 3 acres. You can find those same varieties of corn with the same protein and fat content traits all over the place for $100 a bag and have them sent right to your home. So just keep that in mind, because it's got a big personality, or because it's got a big buck on the bag, or because it's got some sort of unique packaging, doesn't mean that it's going to perform any better in your food plot. What it comes down to is the quality of the seed that's in the bag, that you planted it at the right depth, that you planted it at the right time. And once you've done those things, you're probably going to have a great deal of success. Thanks for watching. If you've got other comments, please leave them below. If there's other things you'd like to see, let us know. We'll put a new video out for you. Thanks.